Seems like I know a lot more single moms than single dads. How do you feel like you've been treated differently by people if they know that you're a single dad?
Yes, I think in some cases I have been, both from the standpoint of,
Yeah, I wish I could live alone. I don't like it here because in my house there's just too many people.
yeah, I felt like that before, and now like the times I am alone, yeah, I'm usually lonely.
Mm,
But it is like normally it's just me and my son, and so
mm.
I do appreciate some things when he's not here, having a little bit of quiet time because when he is here, it's pretty much never quiet. So,
Okay, okay.
except for maybe like first thing in the morning.
Okay. Does he also get to see his mom sometimes?
Yeah, yeah, he goes over there Wednesday evenings and then every other weekend and some holidays as well. So that's where he is now. It's one of the weekends where he's with his mom. So,
Okay, that's good.
yep.
Let me just
So it's
ask
kind
you. Let me
sure.
ask because it seems like I know a lot more single moms than single dads. How do you feel like you've been treated differently by people if they know that you're a single dad?
Yes, I think in some cases I have been, both from the standpoint of people kind of being a little blown away by that because when they they usually will think, oh well, did your wife die or something like that because they don't, a lot of especially women I think have a hard time fathoming like that a woman would like give up her child or custody of her child, allow the father to have custody of the child. So it kind of is one of those things that some people, are a little taken aback by. Um, but then it's also sometimes been a positive thing, because people tend to tell me things like, "Oh, it's so great that you're taking responsibility for your child and stuff like that," and like it's nice to hear that kind of thing. But if you think about it, I'm like, well, it it's just what I'm supposed to do, so I didn't really think much about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's and it's not that I mind people saying you're a great dad and things like that, but just the fact that I have custody of them doesn't really prove anything about that. It just kind of means I said, yeah, I'll take the little bugger, okay,
Nice.
and I signed some paperwork. So that in itself isn't any accomplishment. Now, if we can make it to another like 4.5 years to when he's 18 and he hasn't killed anybody, he hasn't knocked anybody up, he's not in prison, he's not on drugs, so if we can accomplish those things, then at that point I'll probably say, yeah, I think I've been pretty successful as a father. But
Okay.
we got a little bit of time left, so we'll see.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Mm. Uh, did you want to ask me a question?
Well, I guess the only thing that I watched the video you did with Hornet, and I think possibly another one I can't remember, but um, I noticed on the personality cafe that you said your personality was unknown. So I figured I would offer my expert services if you wanted it
Yeah. Yeah, I
to
like.
help determine your personality type
Yeah.
if you're still trying to work on that.
Yes, I like free expert services because usually when you
Okay.
consultants they charge a lot of money.
Yeah, see, I won't charge you anything. All you have to do is chat with me, which you're already doing. So it's no extra effort. So usually when people tell me, I that they're having trouble figuring out their personality type, the first question that springs to mind for me is, um, what do you live for?
To be honest, I don't know because I feel like I'm at a point in my life where there's really nothing that I have control over as far as my future
Hmm.
because I've been trying to apply for all kinds of jobs since I just graduated college. I do have two part-time jobs, but I want a full-time one, and it's I feel like even though I'm trying to show employers that I can do well at their job, I don't know. It's just that it's up to them whether they decide that I'm good for the job or not. So they could either contact me and say they'd like to do an interview, or they could just not contact me at all. And it's usually the latter that happens.
All right, well, let me try a slightly different angle then. Like, if you didn't have to worry about a job in terms of the money aspect of it, if you just had the ability to basically, and I'm not talking like total fantasy scenarios like you can become Superman and fly around or anything. I just mean if you didn't have to worry about having a job to live, and you basically could choose, what do you want to do with your life? Um, what would you do? Like, what do you desire to do with your life?
Hmm. I'm really not sure, but I don't know. Uh, I don't know, something that where I don't have to work with difficult people, or if I do, then I'd like to be able to, I guess, kind of be difficult right back to them. I really like animals.
Like animals?
Yeah, I have three cats and a dog. And when I was young, one time in high school, I volunteered for a while at the local animal shelter.
So, um, does that mean that you would actually want to work with animals as a job, or is it just something you'd rather do in your spare time and not have to, be doing something specific for a paycheck with it?
I'm really not sure, just because I don't know too much about the different types of jobs that are available that you could work with animals with and still provide a living wage. I know that there are veterinarians, but I don't know if I would be able to do that and go through all those years of school, because I feel like it would involve having to learn a bunch of concepts that I may not be able to easily absorb, because I already tried the science thing in school, and even though I at first enjoyed it, my interest quickly died out when I realized that it wasn't quite for me.
All right. Well, like, how do you measure success in life? So, I mean, if you looked at your life and you were saying, okay, do I think I'm, where I want to be in life, or what I want to accomplish? What would you use to measure that by?
Um, well, the only thing that I really want in my life right now is to be able to move out of my parents' house and to work somewhere that I don't dread going to every day, where I can make enough money to live at least somewhat comfortably and be able to save money. So, money is definitely one of those things because it brings security to your life. And also, I definitely would like to have the independence of living alone, and it would also be very nice to have independence at my job, not to be micromanaged, because to me being micromanaged at work is basically being treated like a child, and I really don't want that.
So, and how much you share about, and it's personal, whatever is entirely up to you. But when you think about like what's most important in your life, or what are the foundations or the real core beliefs of your life, what would you say drives you in that area?
Hmm. I'm really not sure because I don't think I really have any strong beliefs. And besides, I don't know. I don't think I'm really driven by beliefs. I'm driven by, I guess, I don't know, things that I consider to be more important than just believing. Like, well, even though I had kind of said it before, I guess I'd like to reiterate that one thing that motivates me, even though it may not sound that great, is money. Because not only is it necessary, but it's just nice to be able to sometimes get yourself nice things with money. Now, I don't think that having a ton of money is necessarily going to make me happier, but at least I think that it's going to make me happy knowing that I am secure, and that if there's ever an emergency that may require me to spend a lot of money to help fix that, then it's something that I'd be able to do. Hope that
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I don't ever claim to be an expert when it comes to so-called typing people.
Me.
Um, so, and I think a lot of things can be affected too by the environment that somebody's in and the circumstances. So
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say just based on our conversation that I can tell you, well, you're definitely this type or it's set in stone or something. But I can say that the answers that you gave to me are consistent with what I have experienced with people that are ISTJ types. Like I said, I'm not saying that you definitely are, but that's just sort of the ideas I get from what you told me. And and I know that that can somewhat. I'd be interested in seeing you interact more with someone who was an intuitive type, because in talking with me and in talking with Hornet, I think both of us being sensors, we tend to kind of talk about, if you, for lack of a better term, censor topics. And so it would be interesting to hear you talk a little bit more about, or with somebody who kind of led the conversation in a little more abstract direction, to see kind of how you responded to that, because it could be that I'm just getting that idea because within the framework of the stuff we've talked about, that just it's been uh, it kind of fits that. But the things you said about security and money, that those tend to be very consistent things of the SJ or Guardian personality type. It tends to be um, seeking security and financial security specifically, and sometimes family security and things like that tend to be like a big motivation. Whereas for me, I'm a lot more motivated by experiences and sensations, and just having fun things and powerful experiences in my life. And I kind of have this attitude of money and security are kind of byproducts that just come along the line somehow, and I haven't most of the time worried about them. And having a child, obviously, it changed my perspective a little bit in that I had to like concern myself a little bit more with those things. But it's still sort of a thing. I look at it more as a necessary evil rather than sort of a thing that actually motivates me. It's kind of it can be important in my life without really being what drives me.
I see. Well, now that I think about it, it seems like every person that I've made a video is with a video with is a sensing type, and about the money thing, it's not even that I like to have a lot of expensive things because I don't. Um, it's because yeah, I feel like if I haven't saved up any money, then not only will I not have any for emergencies, but I like that money is something that I get as a result of working, and I feel like I don't know, like even though certain jobs, you most jobs actually that you'll get be paid by the hour. At least that's how it is at my retail job. That it's I still like the idea of it as how I see it as a reward for my work, but for me, I don't think of it just in terms of the quantity of my work. I think of it also in the terms of quality because in my job, sometimes I'll stay later than I have to, therefore earn more money because there's something that I really want to get done or something that I really want to help out with. Like, for example, a couple days ago, I stayed an hour later than my scheduled time at work because there was something that I wanted to help my manager with, and I didn't want to leave it on her to finish it because she already had a lot of stuff to do. So if I ever have to stay later at work to finish up something like that, then it shows in my paycheck because it's more hours being logged. So I guess that's a way that I use money to measure my like what I get done at work, both in terms of quantity and quality.
Yeah, like I said, uh, I'm not a certified MBTI counselor or anything like that, and this is a very small sample of things about you. I feel like you kind of have to get to know somebody a little bit better, to really kind of know their type. In a lot of cases, some people are pretty much it's all out there and it's pretty obvious because they just don't ever. Everything's kind of transparent and it seems to fit into a book type really fast. I would say in your case it doesn't as much. I mean, you have probably I don't know whether it's unique circumstances in your family or your upbringing or anything to do with where you're at that some things you say don't necessarily sound typical, which is a good thing. I think it's great to have to kind of reassert that we're all individuals and not just members of a type. But yeah, from like I said, from the things that you say, it all still sounds pretty consistent with the ISTJ or STJ in general. I don't know about the IE thing. To me is always the hardest thing to figure out, but that's again, like I said, just my impression based on my knowledge and the responses, but it's not any kind of a professional diagnosis.
I see. Interesting. Yeah, sometimes I wonder whether I should be MBTI certified, and I was actually talking a little bit about that in my last video.
Hmm. I think when I looked at stuff about MBTI, like even the thing about taking the test and having like some counselor talk to you about it and stuff like that, and then I looked at the price for that, and it was like $90 or something. And I was just
Yeah,
like, really?
on capt.org, it's $150.
Wow. And see, that's and I realize there's plenty of other things that are more expensive than that, but I still look at it as the it's kind of puzzling to me because I think this doesn't seem to be something that would have like it's not a mass interest subject. And so it's not like something where you've got like thousands of people beating down the door to do this thing. So it seems to me that it wouldn't be something that would be so expensive because they would want to bring more people into it. That it would be something where they're trying to attract people that don't necessarily have hundreds of dollars to drop around.
Yeah, to
So
become certified, it's a 4-day workshop and it costs $1,500. I almost did that, but then I didn't because it was expensive and I wasn't sure if it would really be helpful for me.
yeah, I mean, in $1,500, that's like a down payment on a car right there. In some cases, it's a car entirely, a used car. And so to say, well, we're going to have a 4-day workshop that's the same price as a car,
Hmm.
that's it's a little steep.
Well, I mean, it would be good for somebody who would be able to, I suppose, be a consultant. However, um, I can't guarantee if people are gonna come to want or gonna want to come to me for my advice. So I wasn't sure if it would be a good investment.
Yeah, on the surface, I don't think it is, but I mean, if somebody does have the money to do that and that's what they want to do, more power to them. It would have to be. I would have to go through a list of many, many things that I got to a point I could pay for before that would be the next thing that I would want to spend $1,500 on.
Yeah, I would say that if anything, if somebody who's not certified to administer the Myers-Briggs type indicator would perhaps be able to still act as a consultant, but um, charge much less. Like for example, I don't really have much expertise on that subject, but if I did, I wouldn't mind charging people maybe $20 an hour to give them advice because for me that's pretty good still as a payment.
Yeah, well, yeah, if somebody was willing to give me $20 an hour for advice, then I'm not saying I would refuse it, but if I were giving them advice, my first piece of advice is don't give somebody $20 an hour for advice. So I would make a bad, you know, sports agent, among other things, because, you know, I'd be like, my client believes he deserves $12 million, and the response would be like, we think he only deserves 2 million, and I'd be like, 2 million is a hell of a lot of money. Yes, we agree.
Well, I mean, the thing is that I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but I think like somebody like at least they can um, charge much more for the simple fact that they're certified. If it's something that is not a very common certification, at least.
I think I need to like make a certificate or something and declare myself certified in cheeseburger eating. And then if anyone needs cheeseburger advice, they can feel free to pay me.
Mhm.
I don't know. We'll start off with 20 cheeseburgers a month, and
Yeah.
then
But
go from there.
like for the example, if somebody wants to be a tutor, um, in my opinion, somebody who has not majored in a certain subject in college, they shouldn't charge as much for the tutoring service than somebody who has, because even if they may not, if even if they know a lot about the subject, it's that certification, that piece of paper that says, well, basically, this person knows a lot about this area. So, um, I think that's, I guess, the reason why myself, with my teacher certification that I haven't quite been able to use yet, just because I have that, I get paid more as a substitute teacher than somebody with just a regular sub license. I don't get paid that much more, but it is certain percentage more.
Yeah, and that aspect sounds very SJ. Also, the idea of a certificate or a diploma or whatever it is, having granting you extra authority versus somebody who doesn't have it. Um, I kind of look at it as if somebody has the knowledge that gets the job done, that's the most important thing, rather than any kind of particular diploma or certificate that a person uh, has. And to me, I think about something like the medical profession, where I've seen so many examples in my life of people that are certified, of having years and years and years of training and supposed medical knowledge, that end up botching surgeries and ruining people's lives, basically because the patient trusted that doctor and they screwed up. And you know, I came to the conclusion, I'm like, I'm not sure that anybody is really qualified to operate on anybody else. Everybody seems to be just sort of, well, it works sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. I'm
Well,
like, if those are your odds, well, I could go in there and do it. So, I'm not too convinced that, 12 years of medical school or whatever it is that someone has done necessarily qualifies them really to do anything over anyone else.